Hello out there. We'll get this switched over. Back for another one. Do I have you? There we go, Josh. You should be able to.
Oh, you can hear me now?
I think we can hear you now. I think, maybe. Yeah, I think we can. Happy Sunday, Josh. How are you this
Indeed.
wonderful
So
Sunday?
far, it's a happy Sunday, I think. Yeah,
I think our.
yeah.
I think I need to move our pictures. If you can believe that. Okay. All right. Yeah. Now that they're gonna love that. I don't know if you're watching the stream. Let's see. There we go. There we go. We're not covering the chat now. It's high technology we have going on right there. Like that's high quality stuff. So, Josh, let's see. Last section of the of Article One. You excited? Almost done with this? Almost done with Congress?
Only took 15 episodes.
15 episodes for one article. I think we're doing great. Next one is next is executive branch in Article 2, right? I think.
That is correct, yes.
Uh oh. Uh oh. But
Indeed.
we do have to get through this. So, how was your week, Josh? How was your week this past week? Do you have a good one?
It was incredibly hectic, to say the least. We did on Wednesday morning, did a change at the airport. We were replacing one of the I guess I'd call it a distribution router, but it's almost more like a provider edge router, and I don't know, and don't know how to explain that in layman's terms. But anyways, it's kind of an important piece of the network at the airport, and we just we didn't know, and we downed like a lot of services. So yeah, between that and school and trying to get everything done, it's been a rough week. You know, we brought down a bunch of the Wi-Fi at the airport, like the Fly Sacramento Wi-Fi, which is the one that everybody uses when they're actually at the airport. So people were unhappy with us about that, and all the contractors network that was
So,
yes,
so for anybody that had any problems flying into or out of San Francisco this past
Sacramento,
week, sorry,
Sacramento,
not
but
not San Francisco, Sacramento. I
yeah,
apologize.
yeah,
It
it
was
was
all
it
it was
was
all
my
Josh's
fault.
fault.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was all Josh's fault. We now have that
Yeah,
recorded.
and then
I think we're good now. We can just call it a day. I'm pretty sure the FAA will be at your door here shortly.
or the TSA, pick
Or
one.
the TSA. Why do they care? What are you talking about?
Yeah,
They don't. They don't.
who knows, man? Maybe they'll just send DHS agents. Done with it. Fuck.
Well, I mean, if there was a reason to deport someone,
Are they are they deporting white people yet? Like,
oh,
have they
hundred
gotten
percent,
started on it?
100%. Well, okay. Well, no, no, no. I believe they're killing the white people. They're
Oh, okay.
deporting the colored people, and killing the white people. I believe is how it works.
Oh, fair enough.
You know.
Well, I think I'd rather be killed than deported anyways.
Yeah, 100%. Have you seen the pictures of those places? I mean,
Uh,
it's pretty intense. Concrete floor,
I
chain link
definitely don't.
fence.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to be in an El Salvadorian prison for the rest of my life. Like, I'd
No,
rather not.
I don't know. 3 squares a day. You just kind of chill.
Yeah,
Sit
I
there and
guess.
poop in front of everyone. I mean, I think I could pull that off.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so that, and then I had 3 midterms. So
Three midterms.
little I'm
For what?
running.
What
The
classes?
tank is running a little low. I'm not gonna lie.
What classes did you have midterms for?
Algorithms. He split the midterm up into 2 days, and then I had a physics midterm. I had a
Nice.
lab doing embedded systems development.
Nice. That seems like
Yeah,
a fun week of midterms.
yeah. I'm kind of wondering like if it's really having the job and school at the same time. Like I don't necessarily need the money. I like the money. Don't get me wrong, but I don't necessarily need it. I'm kind of wondering is it worth all of this bullshit? That's
Do you think if you weren't going to school at the same time, you wouldn't have had the problems that you had at the airport? That's the question.
no, those problems would have come up. Yeah, there,
Those problems are going to happen no
there
matter
was no
what.
way we were gonna. Yeah, there was no way we were gonna figure that out before we did the upgrade. No, like that was, and I told him, like when I started the job back in this December and I started looking at the network, I was like, you guys are one change away from bringing this whole place down because you don't know what's going on. They You don't know what's going on in this network, and they've got like 30 virtualized networks
Good lord.
inside of this thing for all the different vendors, and the different ways that they've decided to connect everything, like it was different every time. They just bolted it on to what they already had without any thought for scale or maintenance or operations.
I don't
It's
I
wild.
don't understand the problems. I don't
Yeah, I
understand what
don't.
the problem is with that.
Yeah, you know what, I'm just complaining at this point. Like I just need to suck it up and uh be
So
better.
let me make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. If you have something and then you just add things onto it with no consideration as far as how that's going to affect the original setup, or whether or not the original setup has the ability to effectively um, work with and or help or support this add-on that you're adding, that there could be unintended consequences.
Yeah, it seems to be. I mean, that I feel like that was a lesson learned out of
Hmm.
last week.
Hmm. Hmm.
It
If only
it,
if,
it,
if
it caused a problem for us.
if only that there could be, real life situations to where that could be understood and interpreted, um, to where when you do something like that. Anyways, about the Constitution, we're going into section.
What, you want to talk about your week?
Do what?
You want to talk about your week?
Oh man, you're.
What trials and tribulations have you been through?
Oh, my week.
Yeah,
It was just kind of a normal week. Just
yeah.
streaming.
So lucky.
Just normal. Uh, I'm trying to think if there's anything that really happened this week, and I don't believe that there was. I didn't. No midterms for me. Um, I mean, my daughter chose which high school she was going to go to, which was a big decision for her. But no, I don't. My We had um, ultimate frisbee tournament yesterday, and my son's team won the championship. They went 6-0 in the
Good for
championship.
him.
Yeah, so that was pretty awesome. That was a great day sitting in the sun and rain, and I can't explain, but yeah, it was a very much so a fluctuation of weather. Um, it was cold and then hot, rainy and then sunny. It was really weird. But no, oh, this is so they had them play 4 games to determine seeding, and then 2 games for the championship.
That's interesting.
So there's 5 teams in their quote unquote league, So they played each of the other four teams, and then they went 4-0. They beat all four of them. So they were the quote unquote top seed. So they played the person with the lowest seed in the first round, and then they played the winner of the other two. I guess the winner of the other.
Okay.
I didn't understand quite how that worked, but the thing that amazed me the most is okay, they just played four games. They played their hearts out. They played their literal played their like
Their seed.
yeah, and then you're gonna go and put them in. They got to play two more games, and then the championship game. Like for me, it was kind of like what you could do is you could just you know kind of lackadaisically play the first four games. Doesn't matter if you win or lose because it was single elimination on the last two. So if you
Wow.
won, you moved on to the next one, and if you won that one, you won the championship. So those were the only two games that actually mattered.
Yeah. I mean, I almost would have been like, "Hey, I'll take the last seed. I'll forfeit." We'll save our strength.
Yeah, because by the time they got to the last game, they were steamed. Like they were, I mean, they were hurting. They were tired.
Yeah. Well, at least everybody was hurt.
Maybe, you know.
All right.
But, anyways,
Well, good. Yeah.
no.
Back to
So
the
yeah,
Constitution.
it was a good week. Can't complain.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, but now we're here, and we're going to talk about the
Yeah.
Constitution. Supposedly,
Yes, we are.
do we have to? I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that's what people want to hear about. I don't know.
I mean, we can BS for another 45 minutes and just call this one a
We
wash.
could.
Yeah.
We could, or we could give the people what they want, which is bad. You don't give people what they want. At least that's what I've
No.
learned over my years of experience and watching. You know the way our country is run. You don't give the people what they want. That's bad.
Yeah.
You give a certain few what they want, and that makes everything better.
Well, and then you give everybody else what's left over. You know what little is left over.
I mean, things do trickle down.
Yeah. Just ask Ronald Reagan.
Hey, the man knew what he was talking about. It trickles
Yeah.
down. Just watch here. If you watch, when someone
Yeah.
pees on something, it trickles down. No, am I wrong? That's how I thought gravity worked.
I don't know. I feel like we might need to do an experiment to test that out.
We're horrible people. Okay, Section 10: Powers denied states. Last week we did powers denied Congress. We managed to make it through all of that stuff, but today powers denied states. Now this is if we look at this section from a holistic standpoint as far as the Constitution is concerned. You have the essentially we went through the Revolutionary War to say, hey, no, Britain, we don't want you, no taxation without representation, all of that. And then it was okay, we had the Articles of Confederation. It did not give the government enough power. They couldn't, put down rebellions. They couldn't, come up with any coin. They couldn't run an effective country. So what would have happened is something like what was in Europe, where you had a bunch of tiny countries or tiny states, you know, all in the same area, which would have been bad. And it would have been bad because you could have had another country come in and take over one. Like Britain could have came in and said, "Yep, Florida's ours. Sorry, screw you guys." And if none of the other states or whatever came to stop them, so we kind of had to band together. Everybody had to come together in order to, kind of make our own thing. But the problem is we have to look at it from a perspective of, okay, if we all join together and we give the government this power and we tell them what they can or can't do, we also have to do the same for the states. Hey, the state can't do these certain things, like if we're looking at this, No state shall enter into a treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque, reprisal, coin, or money, or make anything um, but gold and silver coin, a tender in payment to debts, pass any bill of attainder, expose. So it's kind of saying, hey, you cannot do these things because you're a state of the country. You're
Right.
part of our nation, and you can't do those things. And we talked about
Well,
things like bill of attainder, ex post facto law, right? We talked about that
yeah.
in the powers denied Congress.
Mhm.
Right up here, no bill of attainder of ex post facto law. Congress can't do it. The states can't do it. Um, so it's kind of like you have to keep it to where they can't become their own country. They can't enter into a treaty with another country without the whole country has to do it. We have to have a cohesive unit, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of this comes from the Articles of Confederation as well, where up until between the Revolutionary War and the ratification of the Constitution, the states were kind of just doing whatever they want, and the Congress had no power to tell them that they couldn't. And so it's basically like, hey, this stuff is reserved for the federal government. We have to negotiate this as a whole rather
Yep.
than you know on a piecemeal basis.
Yeah, we can't be letting the states go off and do their own thing. We have to be understanding and together on all this stuff. So I mean, we're talking treaty, alliance, or confederation. So Texas can't go in and create a treaty and alliance with Mexico saying, "Hey, we're going to side with you. We're going to have a treaty because you're right next to us." No, 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 no. The whole United States has to do it. It can't just be that one state. Same way with, say, Montana with Canada, or Maine with Canada, or I mean, even Florida with a Caribbean state or a Caribbean country, or something like that. We don't want Florida making a treaty or alliance or going into a confederation with Cuba, right? That would be bad, real bad. We'll take your people, we just don't want your country. I think that's how that works, right?
Yeah, seems fair to me.
Um, so you can't grant letters of marque, makes sense, or and reprisal. You can't coin money. They had a problem with this at one point to where each state was kind of coining their own tender, making their own money, right? And so, well, you take it to another state, and it's like, well, that don't work here. Sorry about your luck. Um, Emit bills of credit or do anything like that, but gold and silver, coin, a tender payment in debts. So it kind of brought everybody under the United States to where, hey, from a national perspective, we have to be the ones, um, you know, to handle that type of stuff. So I don't have any problem with the first one here. Um, Treaty, alliance, confederation, marquee, reprisal, coin, money. I don't think that there's anything there that I or law impairing the obligation of contracts or granting it. I think that that's fine. Let's look at
Yeah,
the.
I don't think there's really any cause for argument, or there's a lot of dissonance when it comes to this.
Yeah. Um, okay. No state shall enter in any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills, or grant, make anything other than money created under the authority of the United States a tender and payment of debts. That has changed because we're not on the gold standard anymore, right?
Right. Which is fine. I think that's
And
reasonable.
and there's something. Oh well. So there is a change here, and whoops, we can italicize that, can't we? Maybe not. Um, so if you notice, they don't have in the conservative, they don't have the um, ex post facto and bills of attainder, because remember they put that in under the Congress one, where no where Congress or the states no neither of them can do it, which was interesting that they would put here. Wait a second. Nope, 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 nope. That's not it. Here it is. Neither the states nor the United States shall make or enforce any bill of attainder ex post facto law. So that's why they took that particular part out of it. Um, the Libertarian Constitution. Oh, that's what they changed. Where are we at here? Let's see. No state shall enter a treaty alliance, confederation, grant letters of marque reprisal, coin money or issue currency, emit bills of credit, make anything a gold and silver coin or currency of the United States. They added the make anything but gold or silver coin, gold and silver coin or currency of the United States, tender payment of debts, pass a bill of attainder ex post facto law. So with the libertarian one, a state can still um, use gold or silver coin to make that a payment of debts or tender. Which, I mean, in all honesty, I don't think that if you're making it, it's just gonna go off of what is whatever the cost of that is. I don't think the state's gonna be stupid enough to do anything but the United States dollar. You know what I mean? I don't think they're gonna change anything like that.
Well, seeing as how we burn countries to the ground for not using the U.S. dollar, I don't think, yeah, I don't think a state would be willing to make that kind of a gamble, I guess.
Yeah, and it looks like to me like the progressive constitution is literally the same thing, which makes sense. I mean, a lot of it is. Yeah, I mean, if we look at it here, it's almost word for word. Coin a tender and payment does pass a bill of attainder ex post. Yeah. So the progressive constitution, they did not change anything. Conservative, they took out the gold and silver coin and said, make anything other than money created under the authority of the United States as a tender or payment in debts. And the libertarian one left the gold or silver coin, but they added or coin or currency of the United States. Other than that, they didn't change anything. So I mean, I don't
Oh,
I
basically
don't
got
see
the
a
same idea. Just they just got there in a little bit different wording.
yeah, I don't think that there's any reason to change anything of that. I mean, this is one of those things where we talked about, yeah, we can sit here and put like extra guardrails on it and sort of like what they're doing there. It's like, oh, well, it says that they have the ability to do this, so we better make sure we put this in there so that way they don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't see any reason to change anything in that. And again, the conservative one about the ex post facto, they left that out of there just because they put it in the other section up there. So I don't know if we're going to do anything like that. I don't know if it makes sense to make changes that big. So I think we're in agree that we're good. We're good on the first one. Do we need to add anything, remove anything? I don't think there's anything that we need to be concerned
I
about.
I don't think so. I'm with you, and I'm with the rest of the three other constitutions. Where it's like, okay, yeah, if you want to add in the stuff about currency, I think that's fine. But yeah, I don't think this is a point of contention, and it makes sense
Yeah.
that you
And
want this
that's
in.
the biggest thing. Like, does it really, like, do we really need to have something in there like that?
Yeah.
Um, I don't see anybody I don't see any states trying to take advantage of that. You know what I mean? I don't see a state trying to, oh well, because we have this, and let's look at the interpretation to see if they have long diverse list of prohibitions. engaging in certain activities. Understanding to do it depends on first placing within the larger framework of Article 1, which primarily devoted to setting out the structure of Congress. Those activities, which runs the gamut from weakening the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus. Okay. Imposes a similar list of on the powers of the states. Okay. Clause 1, absolute prohibitions that Congress cannot waive. That's Clause 1. Congress can't waive those things for it. Clause 2 and 3 impose prohibitions that Congress can waive, presumably by legislation, although the text does not make it clear whether any joint resolution is subject to a presidential veto. So, and this is kind of interesting to me because Congress can, along with the states, if they propose an amendment. Right? I mean, to an extent.
Yeah.
But
They can make
this is the part that they're talking
adjustments
about.
based off of the situation going on at the time. And I think that may it makes sense to have that in there in the sense that, there's going to be edge cases and
Yeah.
certain situations where you might want the constraints loosened.
Yeah. And that's where they have this part here without the consent of Congress. That's in the other one, um, the other sections. The first one it just says, "Hey, you can't do these things." The second one is, "Hey, you can't do these things without Congress saying you can." Matters of Yeah, I don't think that there's letters of credit as a candidate. They were drawn of specific funds set aside for that. The result reads like a compromise designed to prevent the open-end use of credit without shutting down the capacity of states to borrow at all. Okay, so the single provision of Article 1, Section 10 that has brought forth the greatest amount of litigation is the contracts clause. Okay, so yeah, this is the or law impairing the obligations of contracts, right? So that like other limitations of the financial powers of the states, the clause reflects the fears of the propertied classes who favor the adoption of the Constitution that the state legislators might well enact laws that adversely affecting the just rights of creditors. After 1810, the expansive definition of the contract clause revealed how broadly the Supreme Court viewed the danger of intrusive state legislation. Thus, from which this makes sense because if you have one state that says, "Hey, if you're from this state, I don't care what kind of contract you made. All contracts from this state are null and void."
Yeah.
So that was to prevent that type of legislature. The clause was held to apply not only to private agreements but also to state charters that could not be revoked except upon payment of just compensation to its proprietors. It was understood that the contracts clause was not limited to debtor-creditor relationships,
Well,
but
that's
applied to
economy
all
officer.
contracts. Which it kind of makes sense. Law impairing the obligation of contracts, because you can have all types of contracts, even from a perspective of like a driver's license. That is technically a contract, right? To an extent.
Yeah.
So if it prevents one state from saying, "Hey, your driver's license is invalid because you're from this state and we don't like that state." So I mean, that's a good thing to. Yeah. So the contracts clause, that particular line right there, is probably the biggest part of that statement. So we can. That's good. And
There's
notice that.
a whole lot of that state versus state hate going on today, but doesn't mean it should be taken out or that the guardrail shouldn't be in place.
Yeah. And well, and the conservative one, and I think that this goes back to the one up there. They took out the title of nobility, but I think that again in their previous section 12, they added a lot of those. Was it 12 or 13? or 11. Yeah, I think it was 12, where it says neither the states nor the United States. They added all of that stuff together in there. So I'm not gonna. I don't think that the conservatives were saying, "Oh, we want to give the states the ability to get to, make people nobility." I don't think that that's so. Okay, so I think that we're no state shall. So we're on to the next one. No state, without the consent of Congress, lay any imposts or duties imports and exports. That's an important one. You can't have a state that says, "Hey, we're gonna anything that you're gonna have North Dakota say anything that comes from South Dakota, screw them. We're gonna charge 100% tariff or a tax or duties or import fees from stuff from South Dakota."
Yeah.
You got to have free trade among the states. You got to be able to. You got to be able to have that. Otherwise, things could get really weird.
Yeah.
Except what may be absolutely necessary for executing its inspection laws. Now that's an interesting clause there. So you have something that's coming up from Florida going to New York, comes into the port. New York says, "Hey, you got to pay, you know, a $200 port fee and a $150 inspection fee on your goods." Anything coming into the port, doesn't matter where it comes from. We have to inspect it. We have to do this to make sure that it's adhering to our laws.
Yeah.
Is that
You got to pay for that privilege of being inspected. I mean, I doesn't sound like the end of the world to me. I mean, I see the possibility for abuse where it could be like, oh well, um the cost of this inspection is so exorbitant, but then you have to apply that across the board, and then you just be um you'd be well screwing everybody else and screwing yourself at the same time because you'd make you make goods and services that were imported to that state so expensive that nobody would want to buy them.
exactly? So I think
And
that
I,
that's where the absolutely necessary part comes in.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
well, we like to pay our dock workers and inspection personnel really well, so
yeah,
our fees are $10,000 to do an inspection and $15,000 port fee. What?
yeah,
Okay, well, we're just gonna go. We're gonna start docking at Jersey, and
yeah, right,
screw you, New Yorkers. We're going to Jersey, and then we'll bring it over, using the rails or something like that. So
exactly.
y- that makes sense. Um, the next part, let's see, and the net produce of all duty imposts laid by any state on imports or exports shall be for the use of the Treasury of the United States, and all such laws shall be subject to the revision and control of Congress. So if you're collecting,
Anyways,
do what?
uh, so they don't get to keep the money for the duties and the imposts anyways. It goes to the federal government. Sounds like that's what it says to me.
I mean, you know, I can't, I can't argue with that. I mean, that's what it seems like to me, but I could be
Yeah.
wrong.
Takes away the incentive away from the states to want to do import and export tariffs anyways,
Yeah.
or the or inspection taxes. So
Well, it kind of makes me wonder:
it's
is
pretty well written.
there? Yeah, I mean, and I get what they're like the whole point of this, and just like what this says, the section retains a whole unifying theme. The existence of these limitations demonstrates the individual states no longer possessed anything resembling the traditional concept of sovereignty. Hey, look, guys, we're all in this together. We can't allow each state to kind of control themselves as a sovereign nation. Yeah.
Definitely.
So let's see. I'm trying to see if there's none of the texts use the word sovereignty. Yeah, we know that. Emptying the word. Yeah, I don't even know that there's I don't know that there's been a big thing about the imposts and duties. Like it's basically just saying, "Hey, you can't do this. You can't
Yeah.
set imports because your taxes on stuff across state lines from a perspective of, hey, if it comes from this place or whatever, you got to have free trade within the states in order to be successful."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
In order to promote a successful economy. Yeah. And I think
yeah,
that's been pretty well proven over the last 250 years. Like
yeah,
that free trade is a net positive.
yeah. See, so let's see what the conservative constitution has to say. All right, so okay, so the conservative constitution breaks this up. Except as may be necessary to the exercise of its police powers over the health and safety, except as may be necessary to the exercise of its police powers over health and safety, no state shall regulate commerce with foreign nations or with the native tribes, or bar, tax, or discriminate against commerce arising in other states, provided the states may impose on imports from other states regulations also imposed on in-state products to protect the people of the state from the effects of those imports within the state. Holy good Lord. What are they trying to do here?
That's a
I
lot of
mean,
words.
they go on no state without the consent of Congress, lay any taxes or discriminatory regulations or restrictions on imports or exports, uh, except, so that's the first line about the inspection. No state without the consent of Congress lay any duty or tonnage, enter any agreement with or compact with another state or foreign power, or engage in war unless actually invaded or in such imminent danger as will not admit of delay. Okay, so they're adding they added a few things. Yeah, so they added a few things here. And the conservative constitution, they do a really bad job of explaining why they added this stuff.
To me, it just feels like they're doing too much. Like trying
Yeah,
to.
I'm wondering what this. Okay, we're gonna have to take a look.
So the one about imports is like, to me, it sounds like they're trying to say, okay, hey, if another state lays import taxes against this state, they can then turn around and do the same thing to that state to keep things fair. I could be wrong about what it's saying there, but it's like, why would you put that in there when it already says that states can't lay imports and exports anyways? Like, you're convoluting the argument.
Okay, so here we go. Specific prohibitions on states only. Article 1, section akin to Article. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This includes provisions that are applicable only to states. This section clarifies that the commerce power was intended to be exclusive, and so states cannot regulate interstate commerce, but they can exercise police powers that affect articles of commerce. The Dormant Commerce Clause thus clarifies that states cannot discriminate against out of state commerce, and clarifies that any regulations imposed on out of state products must also be imposed on similar in state products.
Yeah. See?
The full faith and credit clause is moved up from the original Article 4 to this section, and the 10th Amendment is also moved here. Article 1 ends with the congressional enforcement of power. Okay. So I get this. other than for policing powers, you can't discriminate against out of state commerce. If you impose some sort of, like, if you impose something on out of state, it has to be imposed on in state as well.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like that's already implied because
Yeah,
you can't do it anyways. It says specifically that you cannot place import and or import tariffs on out of state products. So why even make that clarification?
well, I think the one of the big reasons that they did that is, again, putting the guard, like, it doesn't, the, people are always going to try to find ways around stuff to make it work for them or their state, right? Um, so
But back to the argument of like, there's no amount of guardrails that you can find that people aren't going to try and find loopholes around. So do you,
that's the
at
thing.
some point you trust in what you've written and trust in that someone within the system, within the checks and balances, is going to act in good faith.
Exactly. And that's the tough part about this is how many guardrails do we want to put up to say, hey, you can't do this, this, and this. Oh, well, you didn't specify this, so we're going to do that. Like, come on,
Right.
man. The other 10 things explicitly deny you the ability to do something just like what you're trying to do, but it doesn't specifically say we can't do that, so we're going to do that. It's like, again, spirit
Yeah.
of the law versus
Exactly.
what the.
Spirit of the law versus letter.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what. And they added some other stuff in here that we'll be able to get to.
Well,
So
and
let's.
yeah, they also the last part you explained was that was clause 3. For the that you added the whole thing about lay any duty or duty of tonnage, the
Okay. Yeah.
troops
That's
and
that's clause 3. Yeah. What they were talking
yeah,
about. Yeah. That's we're not there yet. We're not there just yet.
right.
But there is an interesting thing that we'll get to on clause 3 because we want to finish clause 2 first. Let's go to the libertarian one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Neither Congress nor any state. Okay. Okay. So this is interesting because this says neither Congress nor any state or tribal government may lay any imposts or duties on imports or exports to or from another state or foreign nation except what may be absolutely necessary for executing its inspection laws. Does that get rid of tariffs? Period?
Um, It does between another state. Well, no, because this is powers denied the states. It's not powers denied the federal government. It's
Yeah,
powers
but
denied.
but if you look at this, neither Congress nor any state or tribal
Oh,
government may lay any imposts or duties on imports or exports to or
right.
from
It does.
another state or foreign nation.
Yeah.
That gets rid of you. That means that no Congress, state, or tribal government can put any type of tariff on anything.
Yeah.
Period. Right?
I, I mean, based on the political climate over the last year, I don't disagree with the idea just because of how much upheaval and how like just chaos it's caused over the last year or so.
Well, I mean, it's been proven time and time again that tariffs don't work. That
Well,
all they do is hurt the people that are buying the stuff because the cost of those tariffs just go to the people that are buying it or the company.
the cost always ends up with the consumer. I
Correct.
mean, like, and whether it's corporate tax or tariffs or that it doesn't matter what it is, or taxes on goods and services. Like it always ends, the cost always ends up getting forwarded to the consumer at the
Well, I
end of the
mean,
day for the
okay, and this is okay. So if we try to break it down very very explicitly here, you have a company that needs to get. They need. Let's do something really simple. They need steel. Okay, there's no tariffs, there's no taxes, tariffs, or whatever. There is taxes, sales tax, or whatever between the states. Okay, I need to buy steel, and we'll just go with raw steel, and I can buy it within the states for $50 a ton. I know that that's not true, but we'll just say $50 a ton.
making
Do what?
so we're just making it up for argument's sake.
Making it up for argument's sake. If we take the country as a whole and we put 100% tariff on anything coming from outside in, I could buy it from, well, it's just I could get it from Canada. Maybe I'm in North Dakota. I could get steel from Canada. They're selling it for $25 a ton. Or I could get it from somewhere in the United States that's going to cost me $50 a ton. Okay, well, obviously, it makes sense that I can get it cheaper somewhere else. I'm going to try to find it from the cheapest place I possibly can as a business owner, because the cheaper that I find it, either the more money I can make or I can undercut my competition, right? Business is all about get it for as cheap as you can possibly get it, because that's going to make you the most money. That's capitalism, period, right? But if there's a 100% tariff on that, then it's going to be $50 a ton. So then it's okay, well, it's either $50 a ton from there or it's $50 a ton from the US. Well, Canada's closest. They're closer. The steel mill is 5 miles down the street. I can get steel, for and it's closer. I can get it, the next day versus I have to get it from Pennsylvania, because there's no steel mills in Pennsylvania. I can get it from Pennsylvania, but it's going to take a week.
Right.
Where am I going
Yeah,
to get
you're
it
gonna
from?
get it down the road
I'm going to
for
get it
the
from the
same
guy down the
price.
road.
But also then you're gonna look at it. Well, since I have to pay $50 a ton for it, and I'm not gonna profit as much. I'm gonna up the price on my finished product because of it.
I actually know someone that was in the toy making business, and when this whole tariff thing came on, they had their puzzles made. Their puzzles were being made overseas, and you got to have a specific type of die to cut the puzzles and to do all the manufacturing process. They had everything set up overseas and had it all done, and then the tariffs came in, and it's like, hey, well, it's really expensive. It now costs us more to get it, to sell it for the same price that we have this contract for with our um, with our buyers, major buyers, Target, Walmart, whatever. It's now going to cost us more to make it than what we're selling it to them for. So we got to find somebody that can make it, that's not overseas, that can make it here, that can make it for the price that we want to make it for. So they went and they shopped around, and they found a place that they would be able to do it. But they had to say, okay, well, your price is too much. You have to come down on your price in order for us to buy it from you, because we still would be losing money on our contract. So the question there is, well, we have a contract to sell this many units for this price to this major corporation, and that's what it is. We can't change that, or we're going to fault our contract. So who
Has
is
to go
that?
renegotiate the contract and get more money. But what what person? I mean, what entity is going to want to do that? They already have the contract in place. they negotiated the price, and and it's already done. It's already set in stone. So why would they want to? You know? So yeah, and so now yeah, now you're hosed, and you're gonna lose money, and if this is the only product that you're gonna sell, like, and you take a loss on it, it's like, okay, so do I just close up shop? Do I close my business? Um, do I try to weather this loss until this regulation goes away, or yeah,
But hey, but you're bringing jobs back to our country.
yeah, totally. But for how long, right?
Well, I mean, but the thing is okay. Well, when this contract is over, well, now we've went to this other person who's building this stuff. If the tariffs are still in place, this other company, they're trying to hire people to do this work because they have this new work coming in. Okay, well, we have to lower our costs, so we're making money. So I can't pay you as much. So my labor costs have to go down. So instead of paying you, you know, $150,000 to do this job, we're going to have to pay you only $100,000 to do this job. Or even from the perspective of, hey, we can't pay you $50,000 anymore. We have to pay you $35,000 to do this job because
Yeah,
this company that made this it kind of ripples down. So the question is what is it? Does it really make sense from that perspective? And I like how we got on this all because the libertarian constitution said, hey, you can't put duties or imports on.
just allows the federal government um, to play with the economy, and the free market to a certain extent. And I'm not saying that there's not certain areas of the free market that shouldn't be regulated, and that there's certain things that shouldn't be discussed, and that it should just be a free for all. Because I mean, we've seen the end results of that, and I think we're seeing a lot of it today, where you know, where people are just doing whatever they want, and without any moral guide or any thought for the greater good, I guess.
Yeah.
But in this instance, it's like this is not. I mean, this is a basic tenet of the free market, and when you start regulating that and you start changing that just on a whim without actually understanding like the individual ins and outs, like you're hurting.
Well,
Ultimately, I feel like you're hurting people at the end of the day.
the whole thing is, and this is what it all stems from. You have a lot of blue collar workers and even some white collar workers. I mean, you could even say white collar workers because your tech stuff. Labor is cheaper in other places in the world. Everybody's not a first world country that people are making $200,000 a year, or even $50,000 a year. I can go over to India and hire people for dollars a day, China
Well,
for cents a day, to do
well, right,
this work.
right. Like trying to compete on Upwork, like a job that I would think that I could get for like 50 to 75 bucks an hour, like doing some kind of IT work.
Yep,
Some dude in India is gonna undercut me and do that job for 10 bucks an hour on Upwork,
and
and
live a
I
much
and
better
I
life
can
over there.
yeah, and I can never ever compete with him
Yep,
because I'm not going to take that job at $10 an hour because that's nothing to me. Like
correct.
that's that's not even gonna pay my cell phone bill.
Yep. So how do you compete with that? Well, you add tariffs. Well, if they're out of the country, you're going to impose. Oh, okay. Well, if they're doing it for $10 an hour, we need to impose a $50 an hour surcharge on them. So then they would do it for 60 an hour, and then the somebody you got to pay the federal government $50 of that $60 an hour. It needs to go to them as a tax, as a tariff. So that way that it's in line with what you're saying, right? So the government makes
Yeah.
money off of going, somebody else from another country trying to do the work. But then
Well,
the
yeah,
question,
supposedly protecting their citizens, from
protecting their
being undercut.
citizens by taking the money out of their pocket.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, you can have this other person do it over here, but you're going to have to pay the government $50 an hour.
Yeah.
What? How does that
Well, with
work?
the assumption that the government would then take that money and do something good for its individual citizens, but
No, 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 no,
no,
no,
it's
no, no, no. See, that's not how this works. No, 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 no. No, the government is protecting your job by collecting money from from businesses. That's how that works.
yeah,
It's a tax. It's like, hey, well, if you don't want to use the American people, if you don't want to pay the American people money, you have to pay the government money.
yeah. And then my thought process would be is that you give that money back to the American people. But
No, 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 no,
like
no, 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 no,
each
no,
their
no.
own.
You haven't gotten your tariff check yet?
No, not yet. I'm. You know what? I'll check the
I
mail
heard it's
after
in the
we're done.
mail. I heard it's in the mail.
Yeah, I'll check it.
No, but that's the thing. It's like you're still taking money away from the people. That tariff isn't helping you at all.
Yeah. Other than to give some person or some business pause and be like, hey, well, hey, if this is going to cost $60 an hour, I'd rather have an American do it than an Indian. Like, and
Or you could save, oh, this is going to take 10 to 15 hours, so I could save 100 to 150 bucks
yeah,
because this guy's charging, 70 or 75.
this is starting 60. Yeah. I mean,
So
and
I
I
mean,
could,
it,
on an individual basis, I could always come down and like if they were really going to do something like that, and to where it's like, okay, well, he's $60 an hour now. Like I could do it for 55. Like I mean, and and feel okay about that. But I mean, at least it's within the bounds of like being sort of competitive, I guess. But I digress, and I think we're getting a little off topic here.
yeah, I mean, this is something we're gonna have to talk about like in depth, in detail
Yeah.
later. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things. But then you're talking that's just one thing, and then regulating one industry, one person in that one industry. Like if you're talking Upwork, it's like, okay, Upwork, if you have somebody that is outside of the U.S., you have to tack on an additional $75 an hour that you have to pay us to do that. Or do you do it, well, if they're doing this type of IT work, it's this much. If you're doing this type of IT work, it's this much. Or do you go and say, okay, well, if all of the US based people are charging $100 an hour for this, and the people overseas are only charging $15 an hour, well, then you have to make it up to where they're charging the same amount, and then you pay the government that extra money, not the person, but you're giving
Right.
them a level playing field, right? Like you're bringing the American people back onto the field to allow them to be able to have a chance to play,
Yeah.
right?
Probably
Isn't
just
that?
move to India. You know, maybe I'll do that instead.
I don't know.
I I see.
But
I mean, yeah, and I like
but ultimately,
it's a
who's
mess.
paying for it? Who's
Hmm?
paying that tax? The business. The business is paying
Yeah,
that tax to the government
yeah, and then they're gonna uh, pass that cost into the consumer.
onto the consumer.
Yeah, they're gonna bake it into whatever goods and services they're selling. They're gonna bake that cost into what they're selling.
Correct. But hey, you gave a chance to a U.S. citizen. You gave them a chance to compete. Okay. So this is an interesting thing on the libertarian one. No tariffs, no duties, no imposts on anything from anyone. So this is essentially creating free trade across the board to everyone around the world, foreign nation, state, whatever, except when may be absolutely necessary for executing its inspection laws. Hold on, I really want to see what where's where is the limiting what states can do. including expanding these protections. Let's see. When the Constitution was written, Native Americans weren't citizens. They became, yeah. Okay. Unfortunately, though, Congress passed the Civil Rights Act. Let's see here. Let's see. Forbidding states from impairing contracts, no imposing duties on exports, overruling existing legal precedents that has reduced the effectiveness of this free trade provision. Um, so, yeah, free trade. That's 100%. It says right there. That's
Yeah.
what they did.
And like I said, I think on its face, to take the complexity out of it and to avoid the argument, or not the argument, or the discussion that we were just having, where it's like you just when and you've got the economy over there. I just feel like you're adding in a layer of complexity there, where you're giving legislators and bureaucrats a chance to try and fix something that you just can't. Like there's too many unknown variables. There's too many uh, and there's too many independent variables in that, to where the simplest answer might just be like, okay, yeah, just don't do it. Yeah, we're just not gonna we're just not gonna allow tariffs.
Well, we're not going to allow, we're essentially creating something that says free trade, period, with
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah, free trade.
That's the way it is. Everybody, there's no extra duties or imposts or anything on anyone. Free trade around the world in the libertarian version, which I mean goes along with what their ideology is.
Yeah.
100%
Well,
goes
yeah,
along with it.
yeah,
And the progressive one, I'm gonna have a feeling this isn't changed. No state without the consent of Congress may impose the duties, and the net produce of the duties goes state or export. Yeah, it's literally the same. No change. No change whatsoever. And I mean, I'm gonna check and see. Yep. I mean, it looks to be word for word. Yeah. So the progressive constitution doesn't change anything in that one. Libertarian one, again, they're adding some stuff here. Um, but the main one being, hey, free trade, baby. Let's get it on.
yeah,
Everybody, if you want to trade with someone, the government can't tell you you can, or can't say can't put any extra taxes on you. And then if we're talking about, and then if we go into the conservative constitution, they put all kinds of regulations on it. A lot of, and I think that they just added some of the stuff.
like I said, they're just trying to do too much.
That's one of those things. It's like they're trying to give more detail. And again, it goes back to what we were saying about, if you put up more guardrails, does it give the ability to do more with it because it doesn't explicitly state?
Yeah,
Let's see. So, no state shall regulate commerce with foreign nations or with the native tribes, or bar tax, or discriminate against arising commerce arising in other states. Yep. Okay. No state without the consent of Congress lay taxes or discriminatory regulations or restrictions on imports or exports. Yeah. I mean, I, this just says, hey, if you're going to regulate something that's happening in another state, you have to do the same in yours.
yeah,
I mean, I guess that could be a good thing to have. Hey, you can't make it easier for someone to do something in your state and not have it happen in, if, from an out of state perspective.
Yeah.
I don't mind that, but
I,
to be honest
I
with
don't know.
you, I
I prefer the libertarian. I think. Excuse me.
yeah,
Sorry.
gesundheit there.
Yeah. Thanks.
I mean, I like the free trade. Here's my
Yeah.
whole thing about free trade. If we can move the manufacturing outside of us, and we move towards more of the intellectual side of things,
Right. Providing services
does that not make it
or
better for our people? I mean, if we have less mining, less manufacturing, less, within our country, possibly less health problems, possibly less, issues from a manufacturing standpoint. I mean, is that a
yeah.
bad thing?
I don't think it is. I mean, assuming that we can create enough jobs that are more on the intellectual side or services side to where we can keep people. Well, and then it goes back to the idea of like are people like in 20 or 30 years are people even going to need jobs? You know?
That's my whole thing. Like, hey, if we're collecting, some sort of, if we are efficient enough to where we don't, in order for us to make money off of things, like, and this is the thing that gets me, is you got to make money in some way, shape, or form in order to buy stuff. Because if you don't have the money to buy stuff, then you don't have a need for that stuff, and that goes
Yeah.
the whole post, scarcity and all that type of stuff. But that's a whole economic side of things that we're going to have to look at on another thing here. We still have another section to get through.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards the libertarian idea of free trade personally.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think you can make arguments against that. I if at this point it's like if I had to pick one, that'd that'd be my top pick. Unless somebody has like a better, a different idea out there,
Well,
that'd
I
be the
guess
only.
the thing would be is you'd say, well, what is bad about free trade? And then somebody would say, well, they're gonna take our jobs from us. And my whole thing is well, did we really want those jobs?
Right. And most people don't want to do those jobs anyways. Like we need to find better jobs. We need to find better endeavors, better. That's my thought. If we're really going to be a first world society, you know, um, why would you want people doing? I'm like, and some people enjoy manual. I don't. I
I
I mean, um, so
I
there
mean,
might be an
I don't
argument for
dislike
that.
it. It always feels good to get your, quote unquote, your hands dirty, or, you go out chopping trees down, building houses, doing that manual work to do that stuff, which is never going to go away because you can't. I mean, I'm not going to be able to import a house, from
Yeah,
wherever that's completely built and have it just set down on my land. We're going to have to build it in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through 3D printing, or, I mean, they have stuff out now that where you can 3D print a house with concrete. I
yeah.
mean, I don't think you
Well,
can
and
do
I
it with
mean,
wood.
there's prefab houses that you can buy and have delivered, and they
Well,
set them
yeah,
up.
but you still need to have your area prepped for it.
Sure.
Like, you're
Yeah.
still going to need somebody to get it there to set it up properly. It's not. I mean, unless we're just getting, container houses and sitting them on dirt and saying, okay, cool, have at it.
I wasn't arguing with
Well,
continuing your line of thought. Stop yelling at me.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to yell. My apologies. Um, but no, I don't. I don't. It's one of those things of, okay, does, and people are going to argue, well, we've always done it here, and we should do it here, and we should be proud to do it here. Should we?
Yeah.
Should we be
Should we
proud of some of those things?
should we move on? Should we change? Should we grow? Should we develop? Should we
No, definitely not.
new ways and new things to do? And
You know, we should go back to using axes, stone axes that we've carved ourselves out of the stone. You know, with other stones. Use some lashing that we've made. You know, chop down them trees. Why not?
yeah, why
Right?
not?
Good old days.
Yeah.
No
So
electricity.
ultimately, I think we're both in agreement. Free
Yeah.
trade, unless somebody has some fantastic idea out there of how to do this differently.
Yeah. So
They
this
might.
last one, the third clause here, no state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay any duty of tonnage, keep troops, or ships of war in a time of peace, enter to any agreement or compact with another state, or with a foreign power, or engage in war unless actually invaded, or in such imminent danger as will not admit of delay.
I don't really have a whole lot to say about this one. That's how I feel about it. It's like, yeah,
You don't
that makes sense to me.
you don't think a state should be able to keep ships of war in a time of peace?
Uh, the individual states,
Yeah,
I don't know.
they shouldn't be
I
allowed to have a national guard.
no, they should be able to have a national guard, but they don't have. There is no naval branch of the National Guard.
Yeah, but
Um,
okay, so we can't have ships of war, but we can have planes of war because that's not stated in here.
yeah, which we do because there's an Air
Helicopters.
National Guard.
Hmm.
Yeah, um, and
We just
Army
can't have
National Guard.
boats. Can't have. We can have. Okay, so we can have planes. We can have tanks. We can have all that stuff. We just can't have boats.
Well,
Right?
I guess the idea behind that being that the only thing boats would be used for is to attack an incoming foreign invader. That's the only thing I can think of why they. So it's not a necessity. Well, and plus you have so many states that are landlocked too.
Well, I mean, having a
So
boat, having a an aircraft carrier out on the Mississippi River in Iowa. I mean,
sure.
why not?
Yeah, or on the or on one of the Great Lakes. Why not?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if Illinois seems that one, has a problem with Wisconsin, they just, you know, hey, here comes the what is it, the um state of, so it'd be the SI Chicagoan. It wouldn't be the USS. It'd be the state of Illinois aircraft carrier.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
It looks like from the conservative Constitution. Um,
They didn't really change anything.
well, they did. They did.
Oh,
They took out the keep troops and ships of war in peace. They took it out. It's
yeah,
empty.
yeah, I mean, because you do have the National Guard now, so and that state run unless uh, unless through I think the executive branch can mobilize the National Guard for federal issues.
Correct. Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Libertarian one. They go into a little bit more detail with that. They kept the keep troops or ships or other military equipment in time of peace. I'm trying to find if the conservative constitution put it somewhere else, which I don't think that they did.
Second. It was right next to the the talk about the about clause two.
Well, no, the conservative one
Oh,
about the keeping about the National Guard essentially.
yeah.
Um, See, it doesn't. I think that they took it out for a reason. Like they don't have any. Yeah, I don't think that they have anything. Uh, Administrative governance, citizenship, voting, and elections, emoluments. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Process, finance, spending, other congressional, the Bill of Rights, specific prohibitions. Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't say anything, and then it goes into Article 2 about the president. So it doesn't say any reason why the states do not have the ability to, doesn't it doesn't specifically say that they can't keep that stuff as to why.
They just took it out together.
It just straight up took it out. They're like, nah, states can have ships of war. Why not? Right?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't. Other than the states can't enter into treaties and declare war and do stuff like that. As far as the troops, I don't really feel like I have a horse in that race.
Yeah.
It, it
I don't I mean and I'm guessing that the progressive constitution.
the way the military is set up now, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. Where the states have power over the National Guard and they can mobilize it for, you know, uh, riots and other things like that. I don't think there's anything necessarily. I think I think it works and I think it makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So the progressive one is an interesting change. So the libertarian one, they 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 added military equipment in time of peace, and any agreement or compact with another state or foreign power engage in war uh, unless actually invaded, which is really funny to me. Hey, by
It's
the
like,
way,
where are you
you
going to get
can't
the
keep
military equipment if
well,
you're
well,
invaded?
yeah, you can't keep troops or ships or military equipment, but if you're invaded, you can engage in war with what?
Yeah, exactly. You don't have any troops that are trained or any military equipment. So what are we
Well,
doing here?
I don't think they consider the National Guard to be troops. They're considered a militia.
Okay.
I think that's how that works. They're not considered actual troops. And
I
I
don't
think
know.
that's
To me,
one of the
that's a
reasons
distinction.
why the conservative took it out of there, because you have the ability to have the National Guard.
Okay.
But
I'm
this
good
is
either way.
yeah, the so this is interesting though. Like in the original one it says a state cannot enter an agreement or compact with another state or with a foreign power. In the progressive one, enter any agreement or compact with a foreign power or engage it. So there's nothing saying that one state can't enter into an agreement or compact with another state in the progressive one. They
That's
took out the
interesting.
ability. Yeah, that's an interesting removal.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they added powers denied the states. No state shall select judges of its courts through popular election, which is an interesting one.
Yeah.
It's an interesting addition in the progressive constitution.
But then it's like, well, how are they selected?
They're appointed. That's what and most
Yeah.
judges are appointed. They're not through popular because, yeah. I mean, the Supreme Court justices are not elected.
Neither the federal judges. They're appointed.
Yeah. So that is all of that is in Article 1 of the Constitution. Now, we've been saying this a lot. There's a lot of stuff that's added in both the conservative, the libertarian Constitution. I mean, the progressive Constitution really hasn't added much. Um, but the libertarian and conservative one, they get real big on, well, one, they've added the Bill of Rights into Article 1, or
Yeah.
majority of the Bill of Rights. And then they also created sort of a financial section, which I don't think that the progressive did. They kind of stuck with what was there and then just made small changes here and there. The libertarian and conservative, like, they full on went on with, okay, how do we regulate spending within the government? It's Which is really interesting to me. I mean, it does make sense from a conservative perspective. That, hey, conservative, fiscally conservative, like a true conservative perspective, not a social conservative, not a religious conservative, but from a conservative constitutionalist, talking about the government from that perspective, to be able to quote unquote regulate or put guardrails, as we like to use so often in this, um, around the spending of money. Like, it fits with the libertarian and conservative ideology when it comes to, from a constitution perspective.
Well, and the libertarian constitution puts something in there around spending like that was very specific. Yeah, very broad in its scope that you cannot that any spending has to be applied equally across the board. You know that we talked about. I think that was in section 8, uh,
Yes,
and where they basically said, "Hey, if it's not for everybody, then it's for nobody."
correct. Which is really interesting. I mean, and this just goes along the same routes of what we just talked about with the imposts and duties. Hey, no, 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 no. You can't, on anybody. No tariffs, no imports, no taxes, no duties on anything coming in. Like, people should be free to do what they want to do. That is very libertarian. But and then this is where Section 11 of the Libertarian Constitution. This is where they lay out the fiscal part. The conservative Constitution does they do all kinds of stuff in there, but the libertarian one, they put it all in one section. I don't know. Do we want to start on this stuff, or do we want to?
Maybe save it for. So I feel like that's going to be a longer conversation than
Well,
20 minutes.
money always is a long conversation, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think from the perspective of Article 1, which is about, Congress, which has, I believe, the most regulatory stuff. Let's see, the executive branch, I think, the executive branch is 4 sections, and the judicial branch is 3 sections. I mean, so if we're talking about, the powers and what was given, um, the the legislative section is the longest section by far, which makes sense because they're the ones that are supposed to be running the country to an extent. They're the ones that create the laws, and the creation of laws probably needs to be regulated the most, or controlled the most. Whereas, execution of the laws or interpretation of the laws, you don't need as much around that, you would think, right?
You would think
You would think.
it's
Um,
true these days, but
yeah, so I know that both the conservative and the libertarian constitution, from that perspective, one of the key things they wanted to do was get the whole budget thing under control, because that is I mean, every election, every whatever, the amount of debt the country's in, all that, it's always a big talking point. Supposedly the Democrats run up the budget and the Republicans just inherit a mess, and then they got to spend all this money to make it better, which I don't understand how that works. How
Definitely
can
doesn't work in business. That's for sure.
well I just don't get how you can say, well, someone screwed up the budget, so we got to spend more money to fix the budget because they spent too
Yeah,
much money, so we have to spend more. I don't.
it does seem like an irrational argument
I'm
on these
just
things.
something's not clicking. Hey, they
Yeah,
messed it up and they were trying to spend all this money, but we have to spend more money to fix what they screwed up with the money that they spent. I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand finance like these people do.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
You just you
So,
just don't get the difference between capex and opex. That's what
oh, okay. That's
that's what a CTO told me one time when I asked a question about budgeting and financing and how money was getting spent.
okay.
Yeah, it wasn't dismissive at all. Didn't feel that way.
Between capex and opex, is that what it is? We
Yeah,
don't understand.
yeah. That's what we don't understand.
Okay. Um. So a couple things in on Article One that I do want to touch on. The conservative and the libertarian constitution added a lot of the Bill of Rights, to which makes sense. I mean, and we even went over this when they originally created the Constitution. The Bill of Rights was something that the state said, "Hey, we got to have this in here, or we're not going to approve the Constitution." And it was promised. It was said, "Yes, we are going to do this," and they came up with the quote unquote Bill of Rights, or the first 10 the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, which there were states that actually did not approve the Constitution until the Bill of Rights and those 10 amendments came out. Um, so it was originally supposed to be part of it, but I guess they needed a little more time, and they were trying to get this done so that they could actually get the country back on track. Because I think they spent like what 3 months on just the
I thought
original.
it was a year or two.
Thought it was what?
I thought it was a year or two that they spent on it because the Constitutional Convention was 1787. I don't think the Constitution was ratified until 1789, but I could be wrong about that.
I think
And then
they had the
there was a lot
Constitutional
of
Congress, right?
yeah, yeah, there was a lot of argument back and forth. You know, you had the Federalists and you had the Anti-Federalists
Yeah,
um, that were going back and forth on whether it was needed or not.
yeah. Well, the Articles of Confederation didn't really do enough. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, no, I mean just after the Constitutional Convention, the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, the biggest argument they had was over whether the Bill of Rights should be instantiated
in the
in the
Constitution.
Constitution itself.
Yeah,
Whereas Federalists were like, well, it's implied, and it's all it's all in there. It's just you know it's not specifically stated. And Anti-Federalists were like, no, we need to.
we need to put it in
Uh,
there.
yeah, and thank God for them.
Oh yeah. No, it's one of those things. Well, we're going to rely on the goodness of people's hearts.
Yeah,
Anti-federalists are like,
yeah,
no,
and yeah, we're gonna rely on civic virtue.
no. Oh, we ain't. What is it? Wish in one hand and in the
Yeah,
other, and see which one.
built
See which
up
one.
faster.
Yeah. Um. Okay. So, and I know that what do you got about another? You got about another hour and a half, right?
You screwing with me?
Right. You said you had 2 hours, so it's you got about another hour and a half, right? Right. Um.
If we can wrap up sooner, I feel like we're at a stopping point because I really don't want to get into the money thing because
I
then we won't
know.
stop.
I know. We'll be here forever. All right. So what I want to do is, and I can do this. Set this up for the next week. I want to pull out all of the things that weren't in the original Constitution that the conservative and the libertarian added, and sort of show, hey, these are the things that they added, even from whether it's from a financial standpoint or the Bill of Rights, and so that way we can look at sort of, okay, this is the Bill of Rights, this is all of the things that make sense that was added there, and and this is the financial part, because I mean the conservative constitution has 13 sections, and they don't really name them. They don't really do a very good job of kind of delineating what they are, just for the simple fact that they have, like, what is this, section 12 is neither the states nor the United States. They do a bunch of that in here. Um, so it's sort of like, hey, this is section 12 is Congress, Congress does not have the power to, and the states don't have the power to. And this is where the Bill of Rights comes in. This is where they have a majority of the Bill of Rights, is in section 12. And then 13 is just, hey, the states can't do this stuff. So I want to kind of pull those out, see if there's anything else in there that we're missing. And then I believe it is section 10. Yeah, 10 is the Board of Treasury. That is their financial side that they created. But in section 9, they put some money stuff in here as well, like to create a central bank, to the appropriation of money. So I kind of want to pull those, kind of get all that information together, all of the financial stuff and the Bill of Rights stuff that they did, kind of put it in one picture so we can see all those pieces. The Libertarian was a little bit better because they only added one section, I believe, because we have 10. There's 10 sections in here. Libertarian kind of stayed on format. They just added 11, which is the financial section. But they also added the Bill of Rights into the other sections in here. Habeas corpus in 9, and I believe they did free speech in another one of these. So we definitely want to get the Bill of Rights within whatever it is we're doing, putting them in there appropriately, or even if we create a whole new section, like if we do the first 10 that are the original Constitution and we make changes in those, do an 11 for, hey, this is the Bill of Rights, we're putting all this stuff in here, and then do 12, which is a financial one if we want to do a financial one, if that makes sense. And then the progressive one, they didn't, they didn't, they didn't do anything. They didn't put yeah, I don't think that they put in, they added some, but I don't think they added all of them. Yeah. So I want to do that, and then we can compare the three and see what the changes are. So we'll do that for next week, which I believe, yeah, next is March 1st. March
Right.
1st. We're already in March, man. You believe that?
No, I don't
Next
watch.
Sunday is March 1st. February's gone. We done. February's peacing out.
Yep.
So, um, anyways, I think that, I didn't think we were going to spend much time on Section 10 just because of what it was. Um, powers denied Congress. There's only, if we talk in the original Constitution, there's 3 sections. But so I think next week we'll try to wrap up Article 1, doing sort of like the last little bits from the different constitutions, get those figured out what they have, and try to finalize Article 1. And then the week after we'll start on Article 2. Does that sound good?
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Um, so, yeah, I think that that's it for today. We got a short and sweet, a little over almost 2 hours. But I think that, I think we covered what we needed to.
Yeah, agreed.
So, all right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Yeah,
And
hope you enjoyed yourself. Hope you had a great time. Enjoyed the conversation and enjoyed the discussion.
Definitely, yeah. And we're gonna get into it next weekend with the whole financial aspect of it.
That'll be an interesting conversation for sure.
You have to leave us more than 2 hours for next week, Josh. Pen that in your
Yeah,
calendar.
I think I'm gonna have to. Have to be caught up on
At least 6 hours. We're gonna need at least a day to figure this out.
at least, yeah,
At least.
like a full work day.
Oh, good God. No. But yeah, no, I think that it feels good to kind of complete the actual Article 1. Like from an actual Article 1 perspective to kind of get through it all. And then kind of do our summary next week. So, but no, thanks everybody for joining us. Take care of yourself
Have a great Sunday, and make good choices.
and be kind to yourself and each other. And we will see you in about a week. Thanks, everybody. Bye.